Hey, what's up guys, welcome to my very first YouTube channel video on the web development. In this video we will be talking about the very fundamental and the basic thing that is required in the web development. So we will be talking about how the internet works, and then we will be talking about how the browser works in this video. So let's get started. So here in this video, as you can see, that we have a client, that is our browser or our system that is having the software or browser like Chrome or Firefox, and then we have a server from which we ask data or we retrieve data. Retrieving data is all about getting the data. Okay, so we have a client, that is our system or computer, and we have a browser, a software to connect to the internet to ask the data. The request is sent to the server, and the server then responds back with the data you asked for. Okay, this is the basic architecture or the fundamental on which the internet works. Okay, let's get delve into it, that how these things work. Okay, so now suppose there is a computer, that is our client machine in which you are working right now, and then we have another computer which is storing every file that you asked for, like a web page. It can be an audio file, it can be a video file, it can be a PDF or other different structure of the file. Okay, now suppose you entered a URL google.com in the browser, and the browser then show you or comes up with a page that you asked for. Okay, that is the google.com, that is the search engine that you searched for. Okay, you come up with that page where you have the search engine of Google, and you can search anything. But the thing is how these things come up. Okay, what is going on behind the screen? So here this is how it works. Okay, so basically a server is also a computer. Okay, or obviously it's a storage, but a computer, okay, that is connected to the internet. All right, so our computer is connected to a network. That network is again connected to another network, and this is how all things work. Okay, these network of networks is called internet. Okay, and somewhere and everywhere in this internet, every single thing has a location, okay, or address. Okay, that address basically tells you the location of that particular file, okay, or your system. All right, so let's make this very thing clear. We will come back to this point that everything on the internet has some location, okay, have its own location. Okay, then that location is always a numerical format, and it's not easy to remember. All right, okay, let's make this point very clear, okay, from now on. Okay, so we have a computer, that is computer one, our computer, which is also called a client. Okay, and we have a browser. We wrote google.com, we press enter, then the request is sent to the DNS. All right, and from DNS we find the location of the file you requested for in the server, wherever it is located at. Remember, we just talked about the location of the file. Okay, so what DNS does over here is that it helps you to find the location of that particular file. Okay, because that location is numerical and it's very hard to remember, that IP4, IP6 you might have heard of. Okay, it's not easy to remember. So what DNS does is just it gives you a memorizable or easy to grasp name. Okay, and then it changes that name, that domain name, into a location of that file. All right, so when you hit google.com, DNS gets activated. It searches for the location of this domain name, and then it goes to the location of that particular file. This request that you have sent to the server is called HTTP request. All right, and when the server responds back with the appropriate data, that is called HTTP response. All right, okay, so but it's not as easy as it is shown over here. Okay, there are different technologies that works behind this. Okay, we will be talking about it now. Okay, the very first thing that comes into play is TCP IP, that is transmission control protocol or internet protocol. When you send a request from the client or our machine to the server, okay, and the server responds back, it responds with the data that you asked for. Okay, but these data always doesn't come together, it comes in the packets. Okay, and how these things are traveling in the internet, how it is coming through the internet to your computer or our computer, that is called TCP or IP. Okay, you can just call it as a fastest path to travel to your system. Okay, or how the data should be traveling in the internet. Then we have DNS that we talked about, that it helps to understand this, to change to understand this domain name into a particular location of that file. Okay, so it gives you a memorizable name. Okay, and then it reference to that particular location of the file, okay, in the internet. Okay, then we have hypertext transfer protocol, that is called HTTP. Okay, what is HTTP? Basically, when the connection has been established between the client and the server, that the request you send has been established properly and everything is okay, then the communication between the client and the server is done with the help of HTTP. Okay, or you can say it's a kind of a local language so that both the computer can understand each other. Okay, when the server is sending this data, that is HTTP response, this HTTP response contains files that can be codes and assets. Codes is like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and assets can be anything that can be embedded in the HTML file that the HTML file is handling. Okay, it can be audio or video file. Okay, so that is all assets. Let's take an example. Suppose computer 1 is your home, computer 2 is the shop that you want to go and buy something. All right, so to go to the shop or go to the computer 2, okay, you have to know the exact location of that shop from your home. Okay, then there are different ways, okay, from which you can go. All right, it can, and how you can go by walking, you can use any convenient like car or any vehicle. Okay, so the vehicles or the commuter that you're using to travel to the shop or coming back, that is done by the TCP IP. Okay, and the location that you are aware, that is the DNS, that helping the DNS. You know the name of the shop, but you should be known about the location, so that is done by the DNS. Then after reaching to the shop, okay, you're talking to the shopkeeper, okay, for the stuffs, you're ordering the stuffs, that is the language you're using to communicate with the shopkeeper, that is HTTP. Okay, and the stuffs that is provided by the shopkeeper, that is HTTP response. I hope with this example you have now a basic and clear understanding that how these things are working behind the screen. All right, for this HTTP response, as a developer you should be known for some status code. This is the HTTP codes or status codes. Okay, like when you send the request to the server, and the server has, and the connection should be established between the client and the server. So for that there are some codes. Okay, sometimes the connection is not established or there is something broken in between, so these codes are very helpful. That when the status code is 200, that means that everything is okay and you can get in contact and communicate or request the data from the server. Okay, 301 is like when you have the URL, you send the request, but the content that you are requesting has been moved to another location. Then in this case, when the location has been replaced or the resource has been replaced or removed, then it is automatically retrieved, automatically redirected to that location. Okay, suppose you are sending request to google.com, but the page that you're requesting is moved to another place. So what this code will does, it will again send the request and it will redirect you to the page where is now being located at in the new location. All right, okay, next is 400. So 400 is about the fault in the request that you have sent. Okay, if there is any fault in the request that you have sent, or something, any inappropriate format that you're asking for, and the server is not responding on that format, then you get this code 400. Okay, then we come up with 403. Okay, the 403 is about the private access. Okay, like if you might not have it, it can be a privacy issue, like you're not allowed to access that particular web server. In that case you get 403. all right, then you have 404. In this case, again the content or the resource is being moved to another location, but you are not redirected to that particular location, like unlike in 301. Okay, over there in 301, if the resource has been moved to another place, then you are redirected to that particular location. But in 404 you're not redirected to that particular location. Okay, 503 is something that gets faulty, all the internet connections or some brokerage of the file. Then it can be corrected by refreshing the page, or if the internet establishes again. Okay, I hope these codes are very clear to you now. Okay, so this is the basic thing that you should be aware of, that how the internet works behind the screen. All right, so once you get the data, these data are always comes in small packages. Okay, it's never like they are going to come in a big chunk of data. It is always a small chunks of data, okay, in a small parts. Okay, so once you get the data, but it is not the complete step. Once you get the data, you have to wait for a while to assemble everything, and that is the work of the browser. So now we will be talking about how the browser works. Okay, so let's move to this part, that how the browser works after you receive the file. Let's suppose you requested for an HTML file. Okay, that HTML file have different CSS or JavaScript. All right, so what is the process of the browser in handling those HTML file or the data that is being received? Okay, so browser, what it does, it first load that HTML. Okay, it first load that HTML. Okay, and then it start to parse it. Okay, parsing means you can say that it just validate that how the things how the things are, and how the rules and the specification is working on that particular HTML. Everything is okay. That is called parsing. Okay, it breaks down the HTMLs for syntactical validations. All right, so after parsing the HTML, they look for different other resources, like it can be CSS, it can be JavaScript file or other resources. Okay, while parsing the HTML. Okay, and every time if they see any external link, like while loading the CSS, if it sees any external link, then it again sent a request from your machine, that is the client, to the server for that particular CSS. All right, and the same is done with every other external link that is being used in that particular HTML file. I hope you are understanding all these things, and if there's anything that is confusing to you guys, make sure you write in the comment. All right, okay, so let's continue over there. After parsing, while parsing, if the browser finds some external link, external file like CSS or JavaScript file or any other file format, and the browser sends that request from the client to the server again. Okay, so you can say that yes, every time you are requesting a URL to retrieve some data, there are several HTTP requests that is sent from a computer to the server. Okay, and you get the responses. There can be several HTTP requests. For in this case, while parsing the HTML, you have CSS. Browser looks for that file, again send the request to the server for that particular CSS. After receiving that CSS, it again passes that CSS. As I said, that parsing is about the validation, syntactical validations of that particular technologies. Okay, for CSS it can be validations of the CSS. Okay, that everything is according to the rules and the specification mentioned. All right, so while parsing, that HTML is broken into DOM. Okay, that is document object model. In this we have a tree like structure to make understand the browser that how elements and elements and other elements are in relationship with each other, the different text nodes and siblings, okay, the elements have. We will be talking about the DOM in different video when we will be talking about the JavaScript and sharing all the coding of JavaScript. Then we will talk in deeper about this DOM. Okay, it's very easy thing. It's a, for now you can just understand that it's a tree like structure and it's defined the structure of the HTML element. Okay, so this, after parsing the CSS and when the DOM has been created, these CSS are applied to this particular DOM and elements. Okay, that is like HTML elements in which the CSS has been applied, and after the applications of the CSS, then you get to see the display. Okay, so gathering of the packets, okay, that you send the request from client to the server sends the data back. Those data are received in small chunks that is called packages. All right, those packages are again assembled in the browser. The assembling of these packets is called rendering. All right, so when the browser is rendering the files, then it is displayed in the browser and you are able to see the web page you are requested for with different resources you asked for. All right, so let's give a brief introduction again. Let me scroll upside. All right, so let's give a very quick revision over here. Okay, we have a computer, okay, that is our client, our machine. We sent a request and with the help of domain name system we are able to find the location of that particular file in the server or in the internet. Once a connection has been established, the request that we have sent to the server, it responds back if everything is okay. Server is allowing you, that is you have HTTP code 200, that is okay, you are allowed to connect to the server, everything is okay. So server responds back with the appropriate data you asked for. All right, and under this architecture you have different technologies that works for this, that is TCP/IP for the transmission of the data that you asked for. Okay, domain name system for the location of the file, hypertext transfer protocol, that is for the communication between the computer and the server in a particular language, and the data that has been received, it can be code and assets. Okay, codes that is like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and assets that is like other files, format, PDFs, videos, audios, anything. Okay, so this thing is that is going on behind the system. All right, so this is how the web works, and a very quick revision for how the browser works. Okay, after receiving the data from the server, the data that has been received by the server is in small chunks called packets. These packets are assembled in the browser. The assembling of the data is called rendering. Okay, for rendering, what is going on in the browser is that it loads the HTML. That HTML is parsed. While parsing, it again sends a request for whatever file it has been, external file or link it gets through. So suppose it's getting CSS, so it will load the CSS. Again it will send the request to the server for the particular CSS file. This CSS file, when received back, is again parsed. Okay, and while this CSS has been parsed, the parsing HTML is converted to DOM. Okay, that is document object model. It is just a tree like structure that helps a browser to understand the structure of the HTML. All right, but then the parsing of the CSS is done by validating the CSS, and then those CSS or styling is applied to that particular HTML elements. All right, and after this accumulation, the content has been displayed by the browser. So I hope you guys are clear about the technologies and the techniques that is used behind the system while you're requesting for a page. Okay, I made it very precise. I haven't made it so lengthy, and in the next video we will be talking about HTML, CSS and JavaScript. We will start with the HTML, so make sure you stay tuned with this channel, and I hope you guys are understanding everything for now. So if you have any doubt or any addition in this particular video, make sure you write in the comment and I will respond to you back, or I will make changes in the next video. Thank you.